Inside the payroll and accounting system, there is not an automatic option to export directly into an Excel spreadsheet, but certain reports that have a nice format on a page as one row and columns. Most things do fit into columns nicely on reports. Those reports can easily be converted into a spreadsheet by using the file option. So a common example of this is when the auditor asks for a trial balance from your general ledger, and the auditor would like that as an Excel spreadsheet. So I'm going to use this technique just to show how that works. So I'm going to go into the general ledger, journal transactions, reports, and the trial balance. So you'd typically be picking the last month of the year, so period 12, and I want the actual amounts. So I'll just page down and I'll pick file as my output. What's important is that you make a note if you're not familiar with where that's going. That should be a valid location. So I'm putting it in a folder called reports. And whenever you use the file option from inside the system, it's always a text file. You don't have any choice on that. So it's always a text file. So consequently, I'm going to give this a name. GLTB 2010 is my sample data, .txt. So because it's always a text file, it's smart to always give it a name, .txt. So I know where I'm putting it. And so I say, okay. It does the report and it puts it into that file. Now, in order to get that into Excel, I'm going to go into Excel and I go here to this folder. And so what I did in Excel was I opened it up and I went browsing to the folder where I put it in, the reports folder. And here I see the text file. Now, when you come in here, that remembered a setting that I had already. So normally when you come in, you're going to come in and you're going to browse to that folder and you're not going to see the file because by default Excel is looking for Excel files. So you generally have to change that and have it look for text files or all files. And when you do that, then it shows up. And when I open it then in this window, Excel recognizes it as a text file and it launches a wizard to import it. The first question is it a delimited or fixed width? These reports are always fixed width. Fixed width meaning they line up in columns. And so I click next, and then it takes a guess. The wizard takes a guess at where it should put the columns. Now, depending on the report you're using, the guess might be a good guess or it might not be as good. Because it gets confused by the headings and so forth. So what you want to do is scroll down to where the actual data is so you can see some actual data. And you can see that this column of the account number looks good. This column of the description looks good. And as I come over, those look pretty good. There's a couple of columns there. What I can do is scroll down to the very bottom. I can see this column's a little bit off. So I can move that over. And the others are close enough that they're going to work fine. And if you have trouble with the wizard and you guess wrong or you just set it wrong, you can always run this again and just make different choices. So as you scroll through the data, you can kind of see whether the columns are lining up fine. And I'm most concerned with, in this particular report, I'm concerned with the account number, the description, and the middle columns I don't care about because that's the current period for period 12. And what the auditor wants in this case is the year-to-date columns, which are the last two columns out on the edge. And those look pretty good. You can see that the figure. So I'm going to click next, and it wants to know what kind it is. I generally just accept it as general, and then I click finish. Now it brings it in, And of course you've got the headings as well. Now I can expand these columns a little bit so I can see a little better what I'm doing. Now as I said, in this particular case, the auditor really just wants, they don't care about the current period. So what I'm going to do, I'll look down through the report and I see that those figures look pretty good. But column C, and I'm going to click on C, and I'm going to control click to multiple select on D, and I'm going to right click and delete those columns because I don't need them. All right, so that now I've got basically 4 columns that I care about. But as you see, I also have the headings that make it a little bit awkward. So what I'm going to do there, I'm going to click row 1, and then I'm going to shift click to block select the heading, and then I right click and I delete. So that gets rid of that block of headings. So then I scroll down to the next page. So this takes a few minutes to clean up for the auditor. So I select the row, the top row of the heading, and then I shift click. That does a block selection, right click, delete. And so in a matter of minutes I can go through and I can clean up my report for the auditor. Now I don't need these totals at the bottom because once I have it in a spreadsheet I can handle that, and I can put totals in there. So I'm going to block delete that as well. All right, so now I've got a much better looking report, but I've also got these blank rows in there because that's the way the report on the page went. So I can do select the column A, and I can choose a sort, but of course I want to expand the selection because I don't want it to just sort this column A and not move everything with it. So I want to expand the selection, and that brings everything up and gets rid of all the blanks. So now I've got a very nice spreadsheet with my trial balance. Now what I want to do is a file save as, because by default it's still in that text format. So I'm going to save it as, and here I change it from being a text file to a workbook. So I'm changing the save type from text to workbook. So now I've got the file that I want as an Excel spreadsheet. And so it's a fully functional spreadsheet, and I can manipulate it as I want.